Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to be looking at book 4 in the Last Apprentice series. This is the Attack of the Fiend. So, if you have no idea what the heck I'm talking about, I have a couple more videos you probably need to watch, including I have an introduction to this series. This is by Joseph Delaney. Book 1, Book 2, Book 3. This is Book 4. This will not make any sense unless you've either read these books, or watch my videos on them. So, if this is your first video and introduction to the Last Apprentice series, stop now, go back. Otherwise, again, what I'm about to say will make no sense. So, on to the brief description of this book. I'm not going to go into too much detail. But this is the book where you get the big overarching theme of the biggest evil, which is the Fiend. So in this book, Alice, Tom, and Gregory go to Pendle, which is where Alice is from. And in Pendle, this is Witch Central. There are 3 covens. Normally they don't get along. The last time they came together was to curse Gregory because they don't like him. 2 of the clans have intermarried quite a bit. That's where Alice comes from. She comes from supposedly from the intermarriage of 2 of these. Her parents were not actually practicing witches. You have the men folk who are not actually magical. No, they're not considered warlocks in this series. So witches have to be female. But these are their men folk and their children folk. So that is the entire. They go to basically. Gregory says, "I need to go deal with these witches," and the spook from the area. Well, actually, he's a priest. He trained as a spook, but he decided to become a priest instead. So he's essentially Gregory's eyes and ears in this town. The other one of the issues in this town, besides, tons of witches, is the sheriff seems to end up being under control of one. Some monstrous witch. Now, if you remember from the previous book, Tom's father is dead, mom's left, and has left him basically the room that she had locked. And she basically told him and Alice, if disaster strikes, you two can lock yourselves in here and no evil can come in, kind of thing. And there's 3 trunks in there that are Tom's inheritance. And she essentially had left a letter that is her wishes that Tom will always, basically this room belongs to him in the house, which of course doesn't make his brother happy, or his brother's wife Ellie happy. But again, that was previous book. So, what ends up happening? Well, Tom goes to check on his brother, and the spook sends Tom and Alice to get the trunks to figure out what the heck is in them. They show up, and the place is destroyed. The trunks have been stolen. His brother, sister-in-law, and baby niece have been kidnapped, and they've been taken to Pendle by members of Alice's family. So they have to go to Pendle and rescue them. They're locked in this tower. They're probably being tortured. They're most likely going to die. So you have that going on. They want these trunks, but they can't unlock them because apparently Tom is the only one who's able to do that. For one thing, he has the key, but apparently he has to be the one who does that. So they go to Pendle. A lot of things happen. Alice gets captured. Tom deals with this other 3 witches, this woman and young witch and her twin sisters. She likes him. She tries to coerce him. He's not interested. He's in love with Alice. He's able to get Alice loose, but she still has some of her hair, which again is controlling. A variety of things happened, including they have these, I think one of the, I can't remember which group is it. It's Alice's family. I have to go back into here. Of course, it's not going to tell me. Let's go back into, luckily Tom has normally journals in the back of these books, so I'll be able to figure out the name of this family. I can get back here. The covens. So, I'm going to pronounce it. The Melkins, that's her family. So they've been taken to this tower. So you have the Melkins, the Danes, and the Molehills. Or Mold Hills. The Mold Hills are the head of the Mold Hill clan is the one that has a crush on Tom and wants him over Alice. Alice is part of the Melkins and the Dane families. That's where her parents came from. Her mother was a Melkin, her father was a Dane. So again, they come to town. The priest ends up being killed because him and Tom get captured by the Melkins. They're locked in the tower. This creature, what on earth is it called here? Again, I don't have the name, but it's a creature who's showing them the future. They don't quite know what it is. It's a scaling little thing. It essentially kills the priest. I think it sucks his blood by sitting on its chest. So, and he's telling them horrible, horrible things, and he gives this bizarre prophecy. How basically it almost implies that Alice is going to betray him. This is a woman you love. She's going to eventually betray you and then sacrifice her life for you. So, and he doesn't know whether this is Alice or not. But moving on. Spook is periodically taken away. They're trying to get they have actually summoned Tom's second oldest brother, who I think is also a blacksmith. Yeah, there are themes going on. They kind of explain that in the first book. So moving on. Tom's brother tries to rouse the people of the village. They won't do anything. The constable of the town is corrupted by a witch, locks up Tom because they think Tom killed the priest. And he's captured basically by the army who are trying to lay siege to Macon Tower. But then a war starts down south and they're called away. And Tom gets essentially into the tower with the help of these Mulhouse sisters. And basically they make a couple of deals to get out, and it's like, okay, you can have two of these. He basically gives two of the trunks to them. So they open the first trunk. Now there was a bunch of other stuff in that room, and it was kind of jewelry and stuff that was taken and money. I don't know if Tom ever gets that back. But they open the first trunk, and again, it's full of her clothing and some jewelry and some books and things. And then there's a letter in there. He reads the letter. Basically says, by the way, the next two trunks contain my sisters. So it's like, oh dear. So by this time, Tom understands what his mother was. She was similar to the Spook's lover. Yeah, similar type of witch, only she's similar. She was domesticated. So these are ferals. Essentially, they're almost dragon-like witch creatures, and they've been asleep in these trunks for some time. So Tom releases them. The Mulhounds are not particularly happy with him. It's like, oh crap. They're not going to attack him because, again, for some reason, family. And his mother they're sentient enough to know not to eat their nephew. They, however, will chase off other people. Now, I believe they're in Macon Tower when they do this, so these things are they chase off the other witches who are saying, we're going to combine against you to bring up this fiend. Which is, again, the main point of this. They're trying to unite all the covens to awaken this fiend, which they do end up doing. This is essentially as close to the devil as you get in this book series. This is the ultimate evil in their book series. So that thing's actually released, and it's the darkness all over the land, and it really wants Tom dead. For various reasons. You find various letters that the Spook is going to die. Again, you kind of get that, consider this the last apprentice. That's what they call this. So in the U.S., we understand that, yeah, it's likely, and it's repeated, that Tom was that Gregory is old, and that Tom is going to be the last apprentice he takes on. So, yeah, all hell breaks loose, to say the least. So the Fiend is released, but again, Tom is actually able to rescue his brother, sister, and the baby. They are alive. His brother's in damage. They're able to kind of nurse him back to health. Alice uses some remedies in Tom's mother's book to help Jack. And they're able to go home, and they kind of put the house back together. At one point in time, Tom has gone there alone, and the Fiend attacks. And however, Tom's able to essentially fight it off and make it go away. But it does some destruction things. Things are kind of getting bad and dark here. But the family's able to go back to the farm. They put things back together. Ellie is not particularly happy to go back, but the cousin, the brother, basically Jack and Tom's brother, the blacksmith decides to set up shop there in order to help and kind of protect things so she feels a little bit better. She was pregnant at the time, so there is a miscarriage thing. I skipped over that because I'm a mom and that's kind of hard. So these books are really, really dark. So, and they did suspect it was going to be a baby boy, but she obviously miscarried because I was surprised the witches made her. So, and again, torture. So she's just trying to protect her daughter, and she's not particularly happy, but essentially the Fiend is loose. There's a war going on that's not going on very well, and they're trying to recruit things. Essentially, things are going very, very badly. So that's the end of that book. This is kind of a very, very brief recommendations. If you haven't seen my other videos, I always recommend these physical form. As much as you can really do, you really can read them digitally. They are chapter books, but there's a lot of illustrations that you miss out on. In fact, I'll kind of bring some of them out. So you get a lot of the illustrations that are actually in these books. And again, you see a lot of things. So you get to see this is that darling little creature thing that has scales. So you miss out on that in the ebook form. So that doesn't really come out. And then, of course, as is typical, the journal of Tom Ward, which comes out, it just doesn't translate well. It's hard to see. It's similar to ever picture books. So it just doesn't come out well. So I really do suggest that if you can, get these in physical form. Now this one, Hundley, is advertising the film that these book series was made of. No, I have not seen it. I am probably going to end up reviewing it because I'm reviewing the book series. But again, that comes later. But that is it for this review. Again, this is book 4. I will be covering everything. So if you have no idea what the heck I was just talking about, and Holland's a very brief review, I wouldn't be reviewing these if I wouldn't recommend them. As I said in most of these videos, these things are really, really dark. So if you have sensitive kids, go nowhere near them. If your kids like really spooky stuff and scary stuff, go right ahead. They'll love these. They're probably great to read aloud if neither you nor your children would be terrified. I try to avoid reading these things at night, but I'm a little on the sensitive side. And I probably wouldn't, depending on my child, read these to her. But as of this shooting, which is in September of 21, she's 2, and by the time this shows, she'll be just over 3, which means she's still way too young for these books. Probably not until elementary school, depending on the personality. But that's it for this review. Be sure to check out the rest of the reviews for this, because if you don't, you're not going to make any sense, at least the first ones. I'm going to finish them up. If you like what you see here and you've seen in the previous videos, as I say, like and subscribe. I have a whole bunch of books, mildly, again, covering, I do lighter books. These are literally some of the darkest that I'm covering on the entire channel, at least fiction-wise. I have some more advanced stuff as well that is dark, but that's history. And various family films and travel stuff and secular homeschooling stuff. So again, check out what I've got, like and subscribe to see more. I will finish this book series and watch that film. Thank you.